15 minutes a day, I would practice eye-and-hand coordination drill to handle a basketball because I wanted the ball to be an extension of me. I wanted the ball to be so much a part of me that no matter what I did with it, I was able to handle it. Eye-and-hand coordination. Practice, practice, practice. 85% free throw. Practice, practice, practice. If you're not good at spelling, what should you practice? I'm going to give you an example. Every team I played on, the Miami Heat, they have playbooks that stick. They have tests. If LeBron, Dwayne, Chalmers, Mike Miller, you don't pass the test, you don't play. So if you can't read and comprehend, you do not play. Because I don't want a guy on my team that I call a play and you mess it up by not remembering to play. You must know the rules of the game. They're tested on the rules of the game. Know the rules of the game. It's very important for young student athletes to realize when you go to school to do what? Study. My coach told me in high school, you're not here to play basketball, you're here to be a student. And I want each one of you on this team to be able to say, I could go to a high learning institute because you have good grades. I had problems with algebra and geometry. Failed the first 3 weeks. My coach said, if you don't pass, you don't play. If you don't pass, you don't play. I want you to think about who you are and what you mean to this community, because as young men, we need leaders that be role models. How you act, how you carry yourself, how you treat people. There are a lot of guys that play on teams and they think they this and that, how they talk to teachers, how they talk to adults, how they talk to each other, the filthy language that they use. And another thing, when I was scouting for the Miami Heat, I'll never forget the guy from Clemson came to the game with his pants down, and he's here on the line doing this. The guy gets a rebound and makes a layup. If you're an athlete, wear a jock. Nobody wants to see your nasty underwear. I don't care whether it's style or not. When you play basketball, I've seen guys so busy worrying about how their pants is and all this stuff. They not basketball players. When they do all, I see a guy come down court, guy go right by him. He's so busy that he made a mistake, he's trying to act like it's my hand. I'm being serious about being a basketball player. So you can play games with the fad, but somebody's looking at you, and you want somebody to say, man, I want them to take me to give me a free scholarship. I have a son that went to Kansas State, scored 62 points in 28 minutes. I don't care nothing about all the points he scored, he graduated. He went to the Timberwolves, made it for half a year, got cut, went overseas and played. The most things that I'm proud of is that he got a degree. Because there are millions of ball players coming out of college. Guess what? Raise your hand if you feel it. How many of y'all would like to play pro ball? Seriously, how many of y'all really would like to play pro ball? So would I. With the money they making. I'm serious. We weren't making that kind of money then. I had a summer job. They make so much money now, I would love to be the 12th man. That's $450,000. But I scouted for the Miami Heat for 20 years, scouted for 10 years. Guess what? There's a $250,000 ball players making. How many teams in the NBA? Let me hear you. 32. 32 times 2 is what? 64. That's how many get drafted. How many contracts you think on a team? If you got a team that got 15 players, your chance of making it is pretty tough. So I don't talk about pro ball. I don't want to stop your dream. I have 2 other sons that played for Coppin State, West Virginia State. I knew they weren't D1. And I knew they were, but they saved me a lot of money. They got a scholarship. Have any of y'all ever heard of Coppin State or West Virginia State? Yeah, some of these young men don't know a lot about a lot of the black colleges that I scout for the Miami Heat for 20 years. CIAA, MEAC, SWAC. I mean, it's an education and some great ball players came out of it, but not that I want to stop your dream of becoming a professional basketball, but I want you to think about what this game can give you in reference to a free education. I just talked to Ron Perry, fellow downstairs, used to play in the ABA. I used to play in the ABA. Did y'all know who I was talking about when I said Utah Stars? Mose Malone came out of high school. I played Mose Malone out of high school. I played with another guy from Florida out of high school. Chocolate Thunder. Anybody know who Chocolate Thunder is? Who? Who? Do you know who he is? Darryl Dawkins. These were high school guys that I played with. But yeah, that's very rare. I played with Kobe Bryant's father. I used to see Kobe come to the gym when I played with the Sixers in 76, 77. He comes to practice, you see this little boy. He had a 1200 on his SAT. Let me say that again because I know you look at his talent. This boy could have gone anywhere because he had a 1200 on his SAT. How many of you taking the SAT? Y'all need to do it. Y'all need to take the SAT early, then take it again. Very important. And they have courses for you to do that. That's so important. So I've been talking at you. I'm going to stop for a minute. Coaches, anybody else in here, any questions? Because I had a chance to play 10 years in the NBA and 1 year in the ABA. And I had a chance to play with some of the greatest players ever. And to see the games that are happening now, great competition. Great competition. A lot of things, when I played, we were very physical. We were allowed to put our hands on, so the game is quite different. We're allowed to put this and that on a player. So the game has changed. It's a little more wide open. It's not as physical. But it's a physical game, but it's not as physical because you can't put your hand on the player anymore. Any questions? Don't be afraid to ask questions, but no questions, dumb questions.
What rule would you change in NBA?
Well, I don't know. I like the game. It's entertaining. One of the things that the purists, there's so many isolations. So it's not as much as the team concept. That's why I watch WNBA. I watch a lot of college ball. But I like the game that is pure. But now you have so many isolations. I watched the Knicks last night. And all the guys were standing and Carmelo had the ball. I see that with LeBron. You have to have a team concept. And when you talk about rules and stuff like that, I don't know, the game, you know, I like the way the game is, except some teams play more team game, and the game is also built for the superstars, so you see how many isolations instead of team concept. Yes?
Growing up in Philadelphia, what was your biggest obstacle maintaining basketball and school? How did you come up with
one of the things that I had a problem with was because when I grew up in Philadelphia, there were a lot of gangs. And I was, unfortunately, when I was younger, that's the peer pressure. So when I got away from that, I ran cross country, track, played basketball. I got away from them negative peer groups. So as you as athletes, you may not have that trouble, but you may have people around you that do negative things. So first thing I had to do was eliminate negative people around me. The next thing I had to do was to concentrate on my studies. Because when I went to Overbrook High School, they had a tradition. My older brother went there and won championships. My father's 95. He played baseball there. My father smoked. It's a lot of tradition. Will Chamberlain went there. I could name a lot of great players. So when I came into school, we had a lot of tradition. And I'm talking about, it's something to go to a game and you have a Will Chamberlain look at you, or somebody look at you, to see people in the community were supporting you. So we had that. And I see that with the Junior Orange Bowl. When you have your tournaments, you bring out teams. As I said before, we had our tournament of champions game, and we had Dwayne Wade School there. We had Chris Bosh's school there. Some time ago, when we had a game in Northwestern, we had Amari Stoudemire. I can't tell you how many college coaches there beside pros. So whenever these tournaments are on, people are looking at you. Now the thing that's quite different now is that a lot of you young men are in AAU. How many of you have played AAU ball? So you're exposed by AAU. So I went to LA to watch the ball players in LA, and there's a kid in junior high school, they got colleges trying to recruit him now. Because you don't know who's looking at you. How your behavior is, how your posture, how your character is, how you really carry yourself. Because a lot of people will give you a scholarship because they can see they got a nice young man that's a gentleman, that's somebody that's about being somebody. Because you can't bring that thug attitude when you go to school. You can't bring the hood to a school. You don't need that type of demeanor. It's so important for you to realize that those guys that in there imitating wanksters, y'all know the wanksters, don't you? Yeah, well, see, I'm going to tell you, y'all, let's be real. So many people imitate instead of create. So your attitude and everything when you're playing this sport is a beautiful sport, and it's a thing that can further your education. Any other questions? Now, yes?
When you were scouting after talent, what was the first thing you looked for in a player?
All right, very, very good. Very good. Because Carmelo did something the other day that I like what he said. You know what? I'm trying to make my teammates a better teammate. So I was raised as a, what do you think? What position? What position do you think I was? No, I wasn't a point guard. I was a guard. I was a guard. I can lead the team and I can move over and play that position. But all my career, I'm trying to make sure everybody plays basketball, that I make my teammates better. Now that's from that position. You don't have to be a guard to make your other teammates better. Every position on the court, if you know basketball and you play the game, when I watch a ball player, I took my 2 sons to see Magic Johnson when he was a freshman. I said, son, that man will be one of the greatest basketball players ever. You can tell when a guy knows how to play basketball. Now, I scouted for the Miami Heat for 20 years. I scouted for the 76ers for 10 years. When I saw Dwayne Wade, I saw his talent. Steve Smith. I'll name some guys that I scouted for the Heat, not for the Sixers. I scouted Joe Dumars. Y'all know who Joe Dumars are? He went to McNeese State. When I saw him, so there's some talent you just look at. Now, Dwayne Wade could not make a jumper. Eric Spoelstra, before he became coach, took him this summer. He learned a 15-footer, 18, kiss shot. He learned how to shoot a 3 because he did what? Practice. So when you look at a ball player, you can see the raw talent, but you want to see his IQ. See, when I grew up, I'm from Philadelphia, and we had a tradition of having the greatest guard. It's really mental. I can play with anybody. Every team I went to, I can make my other ball players better. And that's what the Knicks are missing. They don't have nobody to distribute. Have you seen the Clippers? I'm talking about a position now. I'm talking about guard. Who's the guy that makes the Clippers go? Yeah, it's basketball. But you don't have to be a guard to be the one that could be a basketball IQ. You can play any position to make your team better. Wilt Chamberlain, 50th anniversary, I played against Wilt when Wilt averaged 50 points a season. When we won the World Championship, he averaged 11 assists because we gave it to him and we cut. We rotated, and he would find it. So he was the distributor, even though I averaged 5 assists. He was the one that had the ball most of the time. This is like Bill Walton in '77 when they won the World Championship. They gave it to Bill Walton, they cut. And he was the distributor. Who's the distributor on the Miami Heat? Who? Chalmers is what? Do you think he distributes the ball more than LeBron?
Yeah.
No, because LeBron, that's now a point forward or power forward. So it doesn't matter. That question is a very good question because you can play basketball and you can be doing things that not even in the book. Iguodala, 76ers. He is playing the game. Defense, rebound, distribute, score. He is not the point guard. They have a great point guard there. But you can play a position because you're having a basketball IQ. How am I going to make my teammates better? How can I make my game better? Any other questions? I don't hear nothing from you athletes. I hear the coaches. Don't you have any questions about practice or your game or some of the athletes? Any questions from the athletes? Yes, sir. Oh, well, when I was younger, Oscar Robertson was probably the player that I looked at that did everything. But my favorite team was the Boston Celtics, even though I'm from Philadelphia. because the Boston Celtics played basketball. They defended and